Welcome everyone to tonight's post-game show. Got a big one, lots to talk about. Unfortunately, the New York Knicks surprise us again for the worst. 5-game losing streak. Got my man EJ. Happy holidays to you, fam. Hope you're well. I'm gonna need you tonight because the best thing about tonight is I don't have to do this show solo.
Always got your back, CT. Thank you so much for having me on. What's up, Knicks Buzz family? I've been away for a little bit, but my man CT and I have been keeping in touch. Happy holidays to you, my brother, and happy holidays to the entire Knicks Buzz family. Unfortunately, this was yet another Knicks loss. Yeah, I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say. So we're gonna need you, chat, tonight. We're gonna definitely need you. So grab someone you know, let them know that we're on, let them know that we're here, we're representing Knicks Nation, Knicks World. So make sure to like, smash
Yep.
that subscribe, and follow Knicks Buzz.
Yep. Facts, right? The loyalists out in here. Nick Streets never lie. Kaiser Soze, Geraldine, salute. And Buzzer Beater up in here, Prometheus. Yep. We definitely miss Brunson and RJ.
Absolutely.
You know, when I'm lost for words, I usually always start EJ with giving the opponent credit. It's easy to just start digging into the Knicks right now, but and I paid credit to Dallas and got to pay credit to the Spurs because they looked like they wanted it the most tonight. It was pretty clear, those games where we've seen a lot, and it's just obvious that the other team's playing more harder in the first quarter, and they were cutting with urgency, with purpose. They were moving the ball, and it's like, yeah, the Popovich schemes. Yeah, if you're a basketball aficionado, it was just beautiful to watch. Don't matter if you're role players, G leaguers, you got to pay credit because if 5 guys or 10 guys play the right way, then they can outplay anybody.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like the fact that you talked about giving the Spurs credit. Obviously, with the show entitled Knicks Buzz, we spend a lot of time discussing the Knicks, but CT and I also try to spend time discussing other teams in the league. And I will tell you, as well as watching the game, one of the things I did lock on is how impressive these young Spurs were in terms of their hustle, in terms of their commitment to defense. There wasn't a single defensive highlight that I can think of tonight on the Knicks side. All of the major defensive moments, all of the standout defensive moments were on the Spurs side. Whether it was the play where Q Grimes was stopped at the rim, whether it was that play where Mitch, there was a chance for the alley oop, but that was defended really well. Whether it was like a 2 minute the possession at the end, almost at the 2 minute mark, and the Spurs just seemed to be able to find the energy to cover their man and play man to man, like real man to man defense to stop any potential Knicks comeback with 2 minutes left in the game. So you have to give credit to Pop. You have to give credit to those young Spurs because their energy was way, way up, way up. So kudos to them, and
Yep.
that led to now a 5 game
Yeah.
losing streak.
Yeah, it's a good place to start because a lot of the talk will be, oh, the Knicks lost to definitely an undermanned Spurs. They lost to a G League team, etc. But I know a lot of these guys, and from the draft coverage we did, Malachi Brand, I was a fan of, and he's coming along. Keldon Johnson's nice.
Oh yeah.
He showed why he's a nice young building block for the Spurs, and also Jeremy Sohan, like you
Yeah.
mentioned, man, the defensive man utility. Boy, did he show a lot of his repertoire tonight, from staying in front of his man, recovering, length, but he flashed some stuff offensively
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So yeah, starting there first and foremost, but pivoting back to the Knicks, the loss against Dallas, you knew it was going to take its toll mentally, but tonight it also looked physical. EJ, what did you give us your thoughts on what you saw? How can you summarize this loss?
To those of you guys who don't know that, Knicks Buzz fam, those of you guys who are regulars, you guys know this. CT and I, we chat and we text regularly. And one of the things I texted to CT during the Dallas game was, this team, LOL. Um, and it's funny because, you know, there's something about life where we all need recovery genes. We all need the ability to like wake up after a horrible day, like a horrible day at work where your boss yelled at you, or a horrible day where you missed the train, you missed the bus, your tire caught a flat, or you got into an argument with your significant other, and then we all need that ability to like put that put that aside, go to bed, wake up the next morning, and do it all over again with the same energy, with the same hustle, with even more energy, with even more hustle. For some reason, tonight felt like the second overtime of the Dallas game. It felt like the second overtime, the third overtime, the fourth
Yes.
overtime, and the fifth overtime. And it felt
Yep.
like that Dallas game has not ended. And so that energy that was necessary, at no point did I really feel like the Knicks had a shot of winning this game. And that even includes the first quarter. Like it felt like IQ
Mm.
came to play. It felt like Randle came to play for the most part, but it felt like the Spurs were playing the Knicks tonight, and it felt like the Knicks were playing the ghost of Dallas from a couple nights ago. And that was the really concerning thing. And I texted CT again. I'm like, yo, I don't think they're winning this game because it really
Yep.
looked like in the initial minutes they hadn't put that game behind them. It was still haunting them.
Yeah. It always starts mentally, and the Knicks do have a lot of young players that have never been through a game like that, let alone one of
Mm-hmm.
the worst losses in franchise history. I'll call it, in terms of the way it happened, not in terms of meaning. Nothing,
Mm-hmm.
nothing close to these heartbreaking playoff losses, but the way it unfolded was one of the worst collapses. But for a Deuce McBride, a Quentin Grimes, Manuel Quickly, for them to have to then play significant minutes, back it up,
Mm-hmm.
try to come out against a team that was also hungry to prove that that they can beat the Knicks.
Yeah.
It was tough. I actually said it during the post game of the Dallas one. When I did the look ahead, I said, "Oh, San Antonio is going to be no cakewalk."
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Best believe that. And then of course we heard Jalen Brunson unable to go, which I'm happy that they didn't force him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Whether or not it was a little bit of confidence, maybe he was close, and maybe they just thought we could pull this one out without him. No one really knows yet how serious it's going to be. Hopefully he's back for the next one, but
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
glad I'm glad EJ that they didn't try to force Brunson back too soon.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think one of the things that as Knicks fans, reasonable Knicks fans, logical, practical
Mm.
Knicks fans, we have been saying for the longest time, we know what this team is. This team is ostensibly a 500 team,
Yep.
um, and 500 teams do this. And the last time I was on, I said something similar before the win streak. Um, you know, they have moments of like, oh my gosh, this team can has so much promise, and then a 500 team, as quickly as they show you promise, will show you signs that will frustrate you.
Yep.
And so I think that in some ways, at least in this stretch of games, whether it's Thibs or whether it's Thibs or it's the front office, they're showing a slight level of measure to be able to say, okay, this is what this team is at this point. We're going to
Yep.
work with what we have, and we're not going to act as if we're in the league of the Milwaukee Bucks, or we're in the league of the Boston Celtics. We're not in that echelon. We're a 500 team in the East, and the East has to shake out to see what it will be. So I'm glad that they rested Brunson. I'm glad that they're taking their time with RJ, not to rush him back as well. And just one more quick thing about like your post game coverage for the Dallas game. That that Dallas game was rough. It's not just the fact that they lost. It's not just even the manner in which they lost. It's the kind of game that Luca had. Luca had that night, on Tuesday night. He had an all time game. And if you're on the court for that, it's not just the fact that you lost. It's not just the fact how you lost. It's the fact that this is a record-setting kind of game, and your name will forever be, your image will forever be etched into the memories of Dallas fans, into the into the NBA consciousness, in terms of you were on the court and gave up 60 points, guys. I'm a Knicks fan that goes back to Jordan, and
Mm.
we'd forever talk about the double nickel game. We forever go back to that game. The
Yep.
game that Luca had against your squad, against your defense, that just a couple of weeks ago was considered a vaunted defense, getting back into form. That I think that's what I was talking about before about like those emotional killers and the fact that they're still playing the ghost of that
Yep.
Dallas game because all of NBA Twitter was talking about that game and it's hard to shake that off.
Yeah. It was all time
Yeah.
basically, and I put it down to a lot of combinations. Coaching, Luca. Obviously, you always pay respect to the opponent. It's not easy to put 60, 21, and 10 on any professional team. Um, Obviously, yeah, and the way it unfolded, if you play enough games, like obviously there's 82 games every team every season. We play enough games, you're gonna see some wild stuff. You know, you're gonna see some wild stuff happen every now and then. I was confident the Knicks could just get back to winning ways tonight, which made tonight more disappointing. Um, I was confident we could just put that behind us. A day off always helps, a chance to erase it. I said this ain't football where you kind of, you got to stew on a bad loss for 1 week. For the Knicks to get back after it tonight, obviously they're on the road and they've been playing well on the road.
Yeah.
So, I mean, tonight we saw some good stuff from Randle and we saw some good stuff from IQ. Where do you think we just lost the game? For me, we weren't able to get stops.
Yeah.
Got to give the Spurs offense credit. They
Yeah.
just always seem to find a bucket. Or do you think it was more our defense?
It's funny you asking this question because like literally in my notes as I'm going through my notes right now from the game, that was actually a question that I wrote, and I'm trying to find when
Yep.
is the exact moment I wrote it. The question was, at what point did we actually start losing this game? Like not just in the score, but like
Yep.
when we look back at the game, what was the moment we can all point to and say, this game is not a winnable game? And I think I wrote that down as I'm going over my notes.
Yep.
I think I wrote it in the third quarter. So like I wrote in the second quarter for my notes, to what extent was this game a continuation of the Dallas game? So that was already in the second quarter because by the second quarter, the Spurs were already up by 13, 14 points.
Yep.
And so even, the moment where you have Derrick Rose entering into the game and seeming to provide a spark, but an incomplete spark because he was able to get to the hole, he was able to get to the basket, but couldn't quite finish. Mitch seemed to be lumbering around, not necessarily being able to really assert himself in the paint. And by the third quarter, that's when that question pops up. And I really did ask myself, at what point did they lose this game? And there were two moments where I really thought that the game was probably over. The first moment was the Mitchell Robinson potential alley oop in the third quarter, where he couldn't quite get it down, and then
Yep.
it led to a turnover. Because at that point, it was like, okay, Mitch is going to be a sum zero this game,
Yep.
and then it leads to a turnover. So that was one moment in the third quarter, and then the other moment where I was like, "Ooh, this is just not good." Julius had a turnover at some point during the third quarter where it kind of felt like a Shaq in the Fool kind of moment where he was fumbling the ball, and it just never seemed by the third quarter there was going to be a second gear to really mount a legitimate comeback. So I think that the game was pretty much lost. It was a wrap by the third quarter,
Yep.
sadly.
Yeah.
How about you?
I didn't get that feeling that the Knicks were really in this game until the fourth. Um, I think they cut it to 9, cut it to 8. And I thought, okay, this is one of those games where I could see us being on the other end, a team that makes a late flurry and steals the game. I really did feel like that could have happened. But the heartbreaker for me was the Evan Fournier grabbing a rebound, fell out of bounds, threw it back from under the stanchion,
Turnover.
right, Spurs player right under the bucket, 2 points,
Yeah.
heartbreaker,
Yeah.
um, kind of thing. And you can't afford too many mistakes. When you're making a run, I think the clock was down to about 5 or 4 minutes then. You got to be quick, making buckets. Also, I thought the Spurs defense was really good tonight.
Oh, absolutely.
Got to got to give them credit. They were locking us down. They were making us second guess. I've rarely seen quickly that indecisive.
Oh yeah.
There was that possession where he dribbled it that much,
Yeah.
and in the end he just threw it to Julius, and Julius had been waiting for so long that he just dropped his shoulder into the defender, and the defender went down like a sack,
Yeah.
and it was just frustration abound.
Yeah, bro. Like there were several plays where IQ seemed to be on a different. His motor just seemed to be different tonight than most of the other players. Like he would
Yeah,
find ways into the lane, but for some reason, like the lane just seemed to be clogged, and there seemed to be no ability or no movement. That really was what it is. It was no movement to create like a secondary attack into the paint or to like open up space within the paint. So like he would find his way into the paint,
facts.
but then he would just meander, and he's like, okay, what am I supposed to do? And there'd be like this little dance. He kind of looked like old school Pac-Man, where he's just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And you would get to the point where it'd be like 5 seconds on the clock, and he's like, okay, what do I do with this?
Yeah.
And I think that really epitomized the offense. Another thing, there was
Mm.
ostensibly no transition. There weren't any transition points, basically, this night. So if you're not scoring in the paint easily, if there aren't really that many transition points, it seemed as if every possession was a grind out possession.
Yeah, exactly. And we appreciate the comments, Spencer and Jerry. Also, we'll get to that. We'll talk about with the situation of Evan getting in
Yeah.
and Cam not playing. We'll touch on that in a minute. But back to the Knicks offense. The Knicks offense is read and react, and I think
Yeah.
all you got to do is, when we're playing with guys that are playing in extra roles, you've got McBride, you've got quickly playing extended minutes, you've got Grimes now. They're not used to playing a bigger role. So with an offense, if the Knicks is read and react, and they're sticking on D, and our guys are forced to make decisions that they haven't had to make before. A guy like Jalen Brunson, RJ Barrett, so invaluable to this team that they can just simply, through their smarts, their talent, can break down the defense. Now you're asking McBride, you're asking Grimes quickly to break down a defense, and then Julius is trying to do everything he is capable of doing. The Spurs played it perfect tonight. They just made
Oh,
us
absolutely.
second guess things. The defense was always second guessing, hesitant. We do need situations where we just need that guy to break the defense down. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, Derrick Rose got in. Evan Fournier got in, which I'm glad. Glad he finally reached to the bench and used some guys. EJ, obviously, with the Cam Reddish thing, I'll let you give your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Um, I was glad to see, especially after a heartbreaker of a loss. Um, it's strategic. It's strategic and it's psychological. When you have players who played the amount of minutes that they did against Dallas, when it was that difficult of a game, emotionally and mentally, as well as physically, obviously, there's something to be said about being willing to tap into the bench and say, okay, Derek, you're getting minutes. Um, Fournier, you're getting minutes. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like this is confession. I kind of like Evan Fournier. I've never really. I know he has limitations, but in terms of opening up the floor, I've always felt as if he's our best. You know, maybe Q dot will be something different, but I've always felt as if he was the most reliable shooter that we've had, and a possible asset that could be leveraged at some point. So to see him, play somewhat well in his limited minutes,
Mm.
and for him to get a bit of a stretch, that was great to see. Despite his limitations, and obviously his defense is always going to be limited, but I don't think tonight there were that many moments where he was that much of a liability on the defense, because I just think as a whole, the team's energy levels were just, they never reached the point of really causing enough of a disruption to the Spurs offense. Like the Spurs could
Mm.
basically score at will. So that
Yeah.
then leads me to the point with regards to Cam. Um, Cam Hive is, the Cam Hive is really loyal. Um, I hope that I find people in life who are as loyal as the Cam Hive is, because if they're as loyal as they are to me as they are to Cam, uh, I, it's a perfect world. But I think that Cam playing tonight would have solved one issue, and perhaps would have helped raise the energy
Yeah.
level to some extent on the defense. But I don't think it would have raised it enough to overcome how lethargic it seemed most of the players were. That's the issue. Um, I don't like, because it wasn't just a one player thing. It wasn't a one substitution issue. It was an overall energy level in the defense that left a lot to be desired.
Yeah. I think. Yeah. I firstly give the Spurs credit because they played almost a perfect game, and sometimes that happens in the NBA where we're prisoners of the moment. The Knicks are definitely slumping right now.
Yeah,
Um, they need to call upon help. Sometimes you got to be flexible as a coach, and
yeah,
I'm glad Evan got some minutes, like you said. I also like what some things Evan can bring. I think Evan, in a larger sample size, we've seen, if he's playing 20 plus minutes, will hurt you defensively.
hmm,
Um, but I also think, Evan in 15 minutes, Cam in 15 minutes, I'm fine with them.
yeah,
I'm fine with them getting an opportunity when you need. But I don't think they're gonna, turn the game on its head or anything like that. But
yeah,
what their presence will give you a little bit of energy,
yeah,
a little bit of hunger. Okay, I want to prove, I want to come out here just like Kemba Walker did on Christmas Day last year
yeah,
when we had that Kemba miracle. You know, we always say, Tom Thibodeau says, next man up. So I'm glad he's playing Rose. I'm glad Fournier got minutes. The reason I think Cam didn't get in is clearly because not ability, but I just think he's definitely, in Tom Thibodeau's doghouse, but also he's going to be traded
yeah. Absolutely,
most likely. Yeah, they don't want to
absolutely.
risk an injury.
Absolutely. I
Mm.
think that at this point, like, we have to all come to terms with the fact that I don't think Cam's going to be here by the end of the season. And so,
Yeah,
because of that, I think that was more of a front office. We don't want to do all. Another thing is, we don't, not only like the risk of injury, but the risk of minimizing or altering his trade value. That's really important. So, like, I think there were a
yeah,
couple of flashes that Cam showed during the stretch that he was playing, and you want, like, it's like the allure of, oh, this is what Cam can be versus what he actually is right now at this point. So I think that definitely played a role in terms of him not playing tonight.
yeah,
And it makes sense. It makes sense if it's clear that Tibbs is not going to play him, and we have to, and as we talked about the last time I was on, we have to start consolidating players and consolidating um, assets. Then it makes sense. But obviously, the NBA is a kind of league where injuries will force your hand, and it will reveal what you prioritize. It will reveal who you prioritize, and it's pretty clear that with RJ not playing, and with Jalen not playing, and with Obi not playing, it kind of revealed what the organization thinks of Cam at this point and what their plans are for Cam. And it looks like it's not going to
yeah,
be for being on the team long term.
yeah. I feel like it's more of their plan, because they did play Cam for a
Hmm.
decent stretch when they needed. So I don't think this is any reflection that they don't think Cam could have helped them tonight, because I think he really could have. It's
Hmm.
just some things are a mismatch, and Deuce McBride, quickly, Grimes were undersized.
Yeah.
But it's not really what lost us the game. But
No.
we've got to address it, and fans are obviously going to be talking about it. Evan was the one who got the decision. Evan's under contract for one more year, so um, that didn't shock me at all. I expected out of the two, Evan to be the one that
Hmm.
Thibs turned to, and Evan, you can't ask much more than a player that hasn't played in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
That's why I was more frustrated why Evan couldn't play in the Dallas one. You know, we needed some offense. Evan can hit shots, and like I said,
Yeah.
12 minutes, 15 minutes. Um, yeah, he could definitely help break open the defense, and that's what he did tonight. You know, Deuce McBride, um, defensive specialist, and I've got to get your thoughts on that 8-game winning streak because
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a
a
while.
lot of people thought, yeah, this is rolling and it's feeling good, and we've got an identity. We're stopping teams now. Deuce McBride, Quentin Grimes, but I think now we're seeing, adjustments got to be made. Some things can work for a little while, and then is it sustainable? It's a wait and see. And then when you get punched in the mouth, what do? You have to adjust.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You said it. I mean, I think that the 8 game winning streak was amazing. I'm not sure how many fans. I know there are probably a couple of fans who called it. That there
yeah,
was a possibility of us performing this well. And when you look back at some of the wins, one of the things that a good team does is they take advantage of opportunities. So if your team, if your opposing team, if the rival team, if the away team is showing up and they have injured players, and you have the opportunity to take that as a win and to move up in the standings, that is fantastic. And one of the great things about that eight game winning streak is that the Knicks moved up in the standings, and there was a serious possibility for them moving into the 5 seed in the Eastern Conference. However, one of the things that CT and I and Mark Berman discussed early in the season, and B-Ball Breakdown, Coach Nick, everyone we've talked to, we all largely said that this was going to be about a 500 team. There were differences in terms of what we said it was going to be, but for the most part, every single one of the analysts and beat writers we discussed this issue with, they foresaw this being a 500 team. But the other thing is too now, and this is where we have to be sensible, is this is also a team that's now injured. Jalen Brunson, although he hasn't played the last couple of games, he seemed to be banged up in the last few games as well too.
oh
So we
yeah,
can't discount that as well. So he's not been the same player that he was at the start of the season, in part because these seasons are grinds. These seasons are a war of attrition, and I think that's part of like what's leading to, in part, this 5 game losing streak.
yep. But win or loss, Knicks fans show up in numbers. Salute to the chat.
Yep.
Appreciate everyone's thoughts, comments. We shout you out. That's what we do here, and
Yeah.
keep it respectful, but give us your opinion. We shout it out. To me, I guess, yeah, the 8-game win streak and where we are now, it brings me back to Jalen Brunson. It
Yeah.
always starts and ends with him. He's this team's MVP. I kept preaching it. RJ Barrett was working his way into some decent form. He's the third option on this team. Um, Proud of Julius for what he's been doing this year and giving us, close to MIP, all NBA Julius, All Star kind of Julius. But without those two guys, this is what we're going to see. We're no better than any other NBA franchise that executes the right way.
Yeah.
So if anyone was under any illusion how important Jalen Brunson is to this team, we're seeing it. It's like with him, we're maybe 6th, 7th, 8th, play in, play off. Without him, we're probably close to just last year's team.
Oh yeah.
Really,
Oh yeah. You are last year's team. You literally
yeah,
are last year's team without Jalen Brunson. And this is why the NBA is the NBA. It's a singular talent that has the ability not only to make plays for themselves or change the game defensively, but they have the ability to elevate other players, through their play, or to push them, or to say something, or to organize them. Like particularly in the NBA with point guards, they have the ability to orchestrate. They have the ball in their hands. They have the ability to communicate in the moment. And when you have a real quality point guard, the ability to improvise on the spot. Like, one of the things that we've talked about with this team is that there aren't a lot of improvisation masterminds on the squad. Julius, you can pretty much figure out like what he's gonna do. He's gonna do a drop step, maybe he'll do like a fadeaway. He'll probably like move to his right and then cross over to his left and shoot with his left. Jalen Brunson is one of those players that seems to have a larger array of tricks, which then confuses the defense because you kind of have like you're not sure what he's going to do. But with Julius, you kind of know what he's going to do. With RJ, you definitely know what he's going to do. He's going to play bully ball, and that's the dimension that's missing right now. And even the last few games where Jalen was present, it wasn't full healthy Jalen. Um, but at the same time, these losses have hurt. That Chicago loss, it hurt. The Dallas loss, it hurt. And I think that's also what we're seeing as well too. It takes a particular psyche to be able to deal with all of this adversity and to say, okay, no matter what, I'm still gonna be 100% going into this game and be able to put that aside. And this is a young team. That was actually one of my notes starting off the game. Is that looking at who started the game, aside from Julius, it was a really young starting lineup, and we can't take that for granted.
Yeah, a small starting lineup as well.
Yeah.
When I saw McBride at the 2, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I love McBride and getting minutes, but I mean, would have been nice to get a bit of extra size. And Tariq, obviously appreciate Randle, but he needs help.
Yeah.
He needs help on this team. Julius by himself isn't just gonna help us win each and every night. To me, I still I see Brunson as this team's MVP, but Julius, is playing like an all-star as well. But with that said, EJ, let's continue to shout out the chat, but let's look at the road ahead now, because what do you see coming up now? Again, we can't take any night for granted. We can't. Going into this game, we've got one more game against Houston in Texas. It'd be nice to get out of here with a dub. But I personally felt that Houston were going to be the tougher of the two out of San Antonio and Houston.
Yeah. In terms of predictions, I usually it's hard to see. So the game is in 2 nights. The Houston game, I think, it's really a trap game. Like you don't want to lose multiple games in a row. That Houston game is one where you think they can win, but with the injuries, with having a couple of additional nights off and going back to New York, especially after the new year, like I don't want to. I don't think they're gonna win. I hope I'm wrong, and I'm okay if I'm wrong. It's like one of those things like where you look at like how beat up they've been recently, how beat up they've been emotionally and mentally, and now physically as well with some of their key players not playing, and we're not sure. It doesn't look like RJ is going to be ready for Houston. I'm not sure if Jalen Brunson would be ready for Houston. It's a possibility. I think that if Jalen is available, there's a higher likelihood they can pull the game out. If Jalen is not available, I don't see them winning it, especially because it's the new year, guys. Think about how like many of us have treated our jobs. It's like, oh, I'm just barely surviving. And there might be that component to it as well, like that we can't underestimate. Like that whole like I just need to get through this last thing, and then like if I get a couple days off, then I'll have the ability to put 110%. But right now, I just don't have it in me. I'm just trying to get to the end of this year.
Yeah, so the Knicks are at 18-18, like you said. We're at 500. I would have signed up for this at the start of the season. Younger players getting an increased role. No doubt, a couple of these last losses are frustrating. Knicks Nation, I've been frustrated. It's just the way the way it's happened, winning 8 in a row, then losing 5 in a row. It's kind of, it's very, very erratic. But the record overall is what you judge the team on. We're 18-18. The season is in flux. We're 5 games to go till we hit the halfway point. the trade buzz starting to ramp up. Looks like Cam Reddish will get found a new home. Um, I think this team's not going to tank. They're going to go the way they've been trying to, which is try to win as many games. Um, I think they're going to make a move to try to increase the depth on the bench with some shooting. Throw out some names out there, everyone who you think you'd like the Knicks to target. I just think we're going to continue to go through this stretch, try to win some games. The East is starting to now catch up to us. So the good thing is, as we head to this All-Star situation, like EJ said, we're going to have a better idea just how capable this team is. Because we did catch a few breaks early in the season, beating some undermanned teams. And the thing about an 82-game season is it evens out eventually.
Yeah, definitely. You never know who's going to get injured. I mean, obviously, I think Kaiser Sose mentioned this as well, that Devin Booker's out. There are certain players that if they're out at the right time, you don't know what's going to happen to them. And we've talked about this all year. There's some teams right now, particularly in the East, that you're not sure if they're coming or they're going. So again, let's look at the Miamis. Let's look at Chicago's, even Toronto to a certain extent. Um, it's kind of up and down in terms of where they're going, and those teams and their fates have a lot to do with what happens to the Knicks and like how realistic it might be for the Knicks to consider the playoffs and to consider the playoffs as being a realistic possibility. I'm not even just talking about the 7 through 10 seed. I'm talking about possibly the 6th seed. So that's the quirky thing about the league right now. Is what is Chicago right now? And that's a question I've been asking every single time I've been on. Is Chicago, what is it? What is it going to do? Charlotte, what is it going to do? Washington. Oh man, I just put a meme. Just let's meme this one more time. But seriously, like I think that's going to be like the issue. So I do foresee that Cam's probably going to be traded, and I can see a couple other pieces being traded. But yeah, the quicker Brunson gets back, the quicker we can figure out what this team is going to be.
Yeah, I think the things I've been most pleased about is Grimes getting, that starting look now. We have our guy for the future that we're still evaluating. Yes, he's not that, game-changing, difference-making talent that people want to tank for. So that tank argument is always going to be there, I think, for some fans, because this is a generational draft. But hang in there, Knick fans. There's going to be a lot of talent in the late lottery, late first round. There's still a lot of talent with Jalen Brunson, with Randle, with an improved RJ. And my thought is they're going to open up a 4th type max slot to try to add another big name to this current mix, and then see what it all looks like. So I don't see them moving on Jalen Brunson anytime soon. I think Randall's here to stay. RJ just got paid. If they can free up Fournier's salary with Derrick Rose's expiring, that's the way forward that I see this team, that they're going to try to add another talent, and then obviously try to make some draft picks as well. I don't think they're going to be able to trade all the draft picks. They're going to have to draft some players.
It's interesting that you said that you foresee Randle being here. Because I mean, when we did the show with Berman, my prediction was that the better Brunson plays, the higher likelihood that Randle wouldn't be here for the end of the season. But it's interesting you say that, because we're starting to hear about players who may not be happy in other situations. So, for example, And again,
Yeah.
I'm not predicting this. I don't see
Well,
a fit,
give
but
us your
you know.
hot take.
But like Trey Young, for example, like no one would have imagined
Yeah.
last year that there would be 1 year later buzz about Trey Young possibly demanding a trade at some point. And that's the
Yeah.
weird thing about this league is that things start to happen that become possibilities. And
Yep.
the reason why, like, I don't know if Randall's here long term. I don't know if I'm as sure as you are, but the reason why I do think something is going to happen is because of the cap implications for an OB contract, for an IQ contract, the movability of a Fournier contract, particularly into next season, and Derrick Rose's contract. So I love how Tariq, man. I need a friend like you as much as you love Randall, man. Like this is all love. I'm saying this with all love in my heart. I love that energy. How you love Randall, man. But if Tariq is right though, and Randall's not going, that conversation about who is the next trade, what is the tradable target, becomes a realistic conversation because they are going to have to make a move. It's not even just like they're going to have to make a move for the deadline. They're going to have to make a move for the off season because it's the OB thing, the IQ thing. Like those are going to be
Yeah.
real salary cap. What are you going to do? And so,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, your comment does make sense. Your comment definitely does
Yeah.
make sense.
That's why you heard the noise about quickly. To me it was a shock, but I trust in Begley's reporting, and it was very credible reporting. And it's not saying that they're trying to just throw quickly away. They're definitely looking at how can we create max money slot so that we can add to Julius, add to Brunson, and add to RJ. I think their goal will be to try to add to those guys and free up that money somehow. And fortunately for the Knicks, flexibility is that Derrick Rose and Fournier's money is going to expire, and that's a sizable amount.
Yeah,
That's a sizable amount. The forgotten man, Obi Toppin,
yeah,
one of one
that's
of one of Quickly and Toppin. It's ironic that everyone says they're joint at the hip, but let me ask you in chat, can you see a way forward in which Obi and Quickly both stay on this team 1 year from now?
no,
Or do
no,
you think it's likely
no,
that both of them are here 1 year from now?
no.
No?
Because the salary cap implications. Like if you're trying to find that fourth slot. I mean, and by the way, that's a fourth slot, and
Yeah.
we're not even discussing what does that mean with Mitch. Mitch has gotten big money. Randall has big money. Brunson has money. RJ has money, and you'd be trying to create a slot for whomever that is, right?
Yeah.
That's
That's
not not
Remember
everyone can get their money. Yeah,
Brock Aller is in this front office whispering, saying, "Look, we need to
yeah,
be doing this."
yeah. That's a reality. Like, and it's not. And chat, please understand. This is not me hating. I love Obi's energy. If you were to see my notes, you would see like one of my standouts tonight was IQ. Like I only had two standouts tonight. Normally we grade players. I only gave grades to IQ and Randall. Everyone else to me was just like they took the night off. So this is not coming from what I perceive them to be in terms of as players. It's just the reality of the salary cap. It's the reality of not everyone can get extensions, and that's going to be the
Yeah.
reality. Is people are gonna be moved. I think that's just the hard reality. I've just accepted it that I don't foresee a long term future for both of them. Maybe one of
Yeah.
them, but not both of them.
And I want to, and bring this to the 4A too, because a lot of fans, and they look at it like it's the organization that might want to move that player on. It's a two-way street. Let's not forget that. Players
Absolutely.
have future career aspirations and they have an agent. So sometimes a player's camp is in favor of finding a new home. and sometimes they want to do it in a respectful way. We're not going to
Yeah.
hear from Obi or Quickly's camp to say, "Oh, I secretly would love my client somewhere
Yeah.
else."
Yeah.
What's going to happen is they just end up somewhere else, and
Yeah.
we just think that the organization traded them.
Yeah.
Sometimes Quickly is getting good minutes now. He's producing, but with Brunson here, there's no path forward for a starting role for Emmanuel Quickly. For Obi Toppin, if you think a player's career aspiration is to be a bench guy his whole life as an 8th overall pick, he's got to have bigger aspirations than that. So I'm just saying,
Yeah.
Knicks fans, let's keep that in perspective. Maybe the Knicks and their agent have really friendly, cordial dialogue, kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
we'll see. If we can get you up out of here in the best situation, we'll do you a favor, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um,
It's the Dame Lillard, Donovan Mitchell model, where
yeah,
they're not gonna make a lot of noise about like whether or not they want to stay, but he's kind of clear they don't want to stay. It's kind of the anti Porzingis, like when it was kind of clear that Porzingis didn't want to stay, and it was clear that his brother and all that stuff was happening. But you're right. Like these are players who they're coming up for contract negotiations, and they're not idiots. They realize that they have a short shelf life to make as much money as possible, and if they're only playing 12 to 15 minutes a game, 20 minutes a game, and there are other situations where it's possible they're going to get a larger role, what that can mean for the long term, the longevity of their careers, and the long term financial aspect of it. Or maybe even sometimes it's an issue of like wanting to play closer to home, or it could be any number of issues. And so that's why, like, again, like I don't think that both of them will be retained, because it's just at some point, like and here's the other issue, and this is like going to some of the comments in the chat.
yeah,
You have to draft, so it's you can't keep every player and then draft if you're going to actually draft in this particular 2023 draft. So it's like something has to give.
yeah. No, look, I shout out everyone's take, and if you're right, we always shout you out. Don't worry about it, fam. But yeah, everyone got their own way to build this thing. There's no, and I always use up this example. Everyone that wants to tank, everyone that wants to win, there's arguments for every single way. I know I can point to, a role team like the Detroit Pistons. Then we had a drafted dynasty like the Warriors. Then we had super teams like the Miami Heat. So yeah, you can win multiple different ways. There's no my way's correct, your way's wrong kind of thing. I mean, we don't know how the Knicks are going to win their next championship. We can just go off how we would like to see this thing built. But you made a great point. The Knicks have all these draft picks. The only way to not need spaces to draft them all is to trade them all for a big star, and that's the kind of elephant in the room. I'm kind of still keeping my eye on Donovan because he's a free agent in a year and a half.
Yeah.
So that's what I've kind of got one eye on. I know a lot of people keep bringing up Karl Anthony Towns, but I just don't see that still, even no matter how much of a mess that is in Mini.
Can we talk about that for a second, bro?
Yes.
Can we just we talk Minnesota? Why?
11th seed Minnesota right now.
Why?
Godfather package.
Why?
They were ambitious. Let me sell you on it, or try to.
Wow.
See,
wow. That was just.
Yeah. I feel for every team in the West because we just got handed our L tonight by a team second to last in the association, but they're in the Western Conference, so it's so tough. And Minnesota, a small market team, struggling year after year, wanting to sell their fan base on stuff. But I did feel like they thought they were going to get a better version of Rudy Gobert. There was a report this week from an executive saying, I don't think the Minnesota Timberwolves thought they were going to get this Rudy Gobert.
But what Rudy Gobert did they think they were going to get?
Maybe one that's the defensive player of the year. I think he's definitely been down, but you don't have to convince me it was a bad move, because selling all those picks, especially when you still got young talent like Anthony Edwards and that, maybe you just by natural attrition you fall back into the lottery and you can add more young talent to him. But now they're stuck in 10 or 11, and yeah, it's gonna be hard. And
That-
you can't really sell Rudy Gobert at this point with
No,
his salary. Yeah,
that's a contract and a deal that you're only going to be able to get like what 40 cents on the dollar, maybe 30 cents on the dollar for that deal. That was an idiotic move. That's like the move that I spent the entire summer just
yeah,
questioning, like what was the rationale, like what was the point of doing that.
you did. Facts.
And last time, this is the last time I'm going to say it, maybe the last time I say it, and to do it and to really inflate the market, the trade market, made no sense whatsoever. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah,
the, the, the market will get reset, EJ. It always does. I think that'll scare a lot of teams off. Remember, KD couldn't even get traded
yeah, yeah, we
because
spent the entire summer talking about that.
they were trying to get 6 or 7 first rounders, because you can't possibly trade KD for the same amount of picks
No,
Gobert got traded.
no, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. And
Yeah,
please, guys, like when you're watching like ESPN highlights or like you're reading stuff, please remember to say that Knicks Buzz talked about that trade instantaneously, and we condemned it and we said that that trade did not make any sense. And there were very few players, there were very few content creators, or very few like the established media brands like ESPN that really spent a lot of time breaking down that Minnesota trade, especially because I think the Donovan Mitchell drama was sexier because it involved the New York City market. But to not look at the Minnesota trade in how it influenced or shaped the inability for there to be a Donovan Mitchell trade to some extent to New
yeah,
York City was a dereliction of duty. But at the same time, like, just going back to our team, I do foresee there having to be some sort of move. What is it? I don't know. But again, too many picks. There's a point like you hit, and like Boston faced this, Philadelphia faced this, not Cleveland, who am I talking about?
mm,
Utah is going to have to face this. Oklahoma City is going to face this. Having a number of first round draft picks is amazing, but there's some point where you hit where it's like, okay, you can't keep all of those first round draft picks. Like something actually have to actually happen with them.
yeah, yeah. One thing I will shout out to Rick of is he's been vocal about talking about teams just got to go through their natural growing pains. And this season ain't about wins and losses for me. As long as we weren't doing the follies of last year with Alec Burks starting, and we actually got an opportunity to see what we have in these players. If we make the play-in or playoffs or miss out and go into the lottery, yeah, it's gonna happen. But
Yeah. Yeah.
we need this off-season, EJ. We needed to know what we have in these young players. We're getting a great look. We're not halfway through the season yet. We're going to know what Deuce McBride's made of. We're going to know what Quickly's made of. Grimes is made of. Hopefully Obi gets back soon. So that's just my perspective from this year. Never about the wins and losses. We really do look like we're going to be headed for a play-in. Yeah, it's a marathon this season, not a sprint. I think once we get healthy, we can definitely rattle off some more wins. But I'm just evaluating our young talent. How about yourself? For what you want to get out of this season.
What I wanted to get out of the season, I was just checking the standings to see where we were as of right now.
Oh yeah,
You know,
appreciate it.
yeah, yeah, no, definitely. So as of right now, we're in eighth place. The Heat are in seventh, and the Pacers are in sixth. And then there's a little bit of separation with all the other teams, with the Sixers being 4.5 back. Um, what I wanted for this season was similar to you, for there to be some sort of clarity as to what this team was. Maybe the worst thing to happen to the team was the 2019-2020 season, where we exceeded all expectations by hitting the fourth seed, and that may have rushed a process that did not need to be rushed. Um, Buzzer Peter. You know what? Sort of,
He's on
kind of.
holidays. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You know what it is, Buzzer Beater? If you've been a Knicks fan for a long time, you're even keel. You're even keel about it because you know what the team is, and you can't get too excited about it because you realize at the end of the season, every other team, only one team actually accomplished their goal. So I've spent a lot of seasons realizing, oh, this team didn't accomplish this goal. But for me, this is about development. It's about figuring out what the team is. It's about the front office. That's the piece for me. Is the front office really understanding what this team is and thinking not only about who are the pieces that we have now, but how do we then now accomplish getting to championship contender status within the next 2 or 3 years? Because I think that's when the next conceivable window will
Yeah.
open.
Yeah. And with that point about the growing pains, it can move so fast that
Mm-hmm.
you don't realize how closer you are to, the NBA is unique. A couple of pieces can change things, majorly.
Yeah.
Now, whether people want to build through the draft or the way we're going, which is try to develop and play some veterans, but with the way we're currently going, you can still improve incrementally every year. Let's say you make the 8th seed, you make the 6th seed,
Yeah.
you try to make the 4th seed after that, and you build something that's trying to, sustainable. Um, Try to play these cost-friendly contracts. I think we're trying to build a dynasty like set like the Golden State Warriors. Players on 25, 26 years of age that we can keep around for 10 years.
Yeah.
Um,
And also building a culture. Like,
yep.
part of, like, if you've been watching basketball for a long time, I remember when the Brooklyn Nets were the New Jersey Nets, and they were a laughing
Yes.
stock. You know,
Yep.
um, and maybe I'm going to do this. Maybe this might be a segment for 2023 that we do random Knicks players, like a random Knicks player per podcast that like just reminds us of how bad it can get. Uh, so like if you've been a Knicks fan for a long time, and like those post Ewing, like those 2002, 2003 seasons, all I have to say, Michael Sweetney,
Yes.
that's my bad Nick of the day. And
Yes.
so, Michael Sweetney, that's all I'll say. Google Michael Sweetney. Google um, when we got Michael Sweetney. Google his career. God bless him. But yeah, it's about understanding that teams have a finite championship window, and the Knicks we don't have a realistic championship window. So like, there's no need for me to get excitable. There's no need for me to get outrageous. It's I understood that prior to the start of the seasons, but I do want for there to be clarity with regards to the front office. I do want for there to be, oh, I want people to look at the league. I want people around the league to look at the Knicks front office and say, that's a smart front office. That's my goal.
Yep.
Will it happen? I don't know, but that's my goal.
Also, not that I'm in any position to give out tips to fans, and we react and we watch the games the way we want. But for what
Yeah.
gets me through, I know the season's 82 games, and whether even if you're the Milwaukee Bucks, every year I go into the season, I know there's going to be heartbreaking losses. You don't think there's a fan base of the Milwaukee Bucks that get frustrated with stuff Giannis does? Every fan base goes through it, and
Yeah.
also you've got to go into a season knowing what your team's weaknesses are. You've got to be real with yourself and say, all right, this is our weakness, closing out games, for example, or the Knicks IQ. Knicks, you could be the best fan of this team. You can't say we have great IQ. So yeah, that's our Achilles heel. So That's what I do when I go into a season.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a wise man that says every season has a mind of its own.
Yep. Yeah, you said it. On that note, EJ, I know you gotta get up out of here, and we'll be with you tomorrow. Hopefully, you can come
Yes,
through, and
yes,
yeah,
sir.
Bill Daughtry's gonna come through the streets and gonna hear what he has to say, because the Knicks were, yeah, were busy this last few couple of weeks. Um, but yeah, as always, pleasure to have you on and chop this thing up. Needed you tonight.
Therapy, man. We needed. I was just, before I head out of here, I was just talking to a couple people before I got on the chat tonight, on the podcast tonight, and I literally said, like, we just needed therapy tonight. We just needed Knicks therapy tonight because, again, um, if you are a Knicks fan, this will be my word of the day. This will be my final thing for 2022 maybe. But if you are a Knicks fan, you were born with a loyalty gene inside of you. You are one of the
Oh,
most loyal people in
times
all
two.
of your friend circles. Now, seriously, like people look at you and they're like, "You're a Knicks fan. You're a good person. You're really loyal." But
Yep.
that loyalty sometimes comes with heartbreak. And so when it comes with heartbreak, sometimes, some of us, we listen to sad music. You listen to Boys to Men from back in the day. I have water in my cup because, that's it's great.
Yep.
But we might have something in your cup. But, sometimes you just need to get together as a community and just talk it out and to deal with it therapeutically. And so this was a frustrating loss, but you know, uh, it's because we're true blue, orange and blue. So I just want to wish everyone, in case I don't see you guys tomorrow, I just want to wish everyone Happy New Year all over the Knicks world. So from Australia to New York City to the West Coast, and please don't forget to to smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, support Knicks Buzz. The legendary Bill Daughtry is going to be on tomorrow. The legend, the legend, the legend. I cannot overstate how important he was to my sports upbringing. So, CT, my friend, it is always a
Yep.
pleasure to rock with you, my boy, definitely. And thank you, everyone. And I will see you guys really very soon. Very soon.
Yep. Peace. Ladies and gents, we'll continue rocking out for a bit. Um, Obviously, it's daytime where I'm at. Happy to continue. EJ, appreciate him and getting his thoughts after this fifth straight loss for the New York Knicks. Man, it's been very eventful the last couple weeks. Definitely, I look forward to being on tomorrow night, 8 p.m. with Bill Daughtry. We'll be on live. Get some thoughts out there. Um, then we head into Houston. You see the games coming up, like thick and fast. Like I said, this is the time of year where a lot of teams are evaluating where they're at, and they're going to make decisions, going to make key decisions around the league. And the New York Knicks are no different. They're evaluating their talent. They're evaluating the coaching. They're evaluating what they want to get out of this season. Um, are they on track for their season goals? Are there other things we want to see? Um, there's been a lot of positives. Jalen Brunson still in a position to be an all star. I don't think this hip injury is too serious. I'm like I said to EJ, I'm glad they didn't force Brunson back in. That is a bit of growth from an organization. As small as it is, I'll take it. It's a win. I think in years past, I think we've seen that we would have tried to force our bigger player into a game where he wasn't 100%. And Jalen Brunson, he's going to be better for this kind of rest heading into this season. So yeah, we took a couple L's, but at least trying to look at some positives is that Jalen Brunson's been able to get some rest. Um, with that situation, what else? Emmanuel Quickly, Quentin Grimes playing bigger roles right now. I mentioned to EJ, we really need to know what we have in some of these players. By the end of this season. And we talked about the Donovan Mitchell trade so much and how important it was to come out of that situation with some of these young players still intact. The part of the best position the Knicks are in is some flexibility. We got situations where these players are still growing. Um, some of us, we mentioned how long we've been a Nick fan. We've been in so many situations where we just haven't seen it through with some young players. We've given up too soon. Trevor Ariza's, David Lee's, Zach Randolph's. We've given up on a lot of players to see them thrive on other NBA teams right now. So it's a big decision to make when deciding to keep these players or not. And I'm glad at least the Knicks are giving these guys bigger roles. This season, a lot of these players aren't perfect. Yeah, a lot of players do have flaws coming in, but that's what I'm looking for this season. Let's see. I think their aim is to go all in on this play-in, playoff. We're still in the thick of it. 18 and 18. And we're in a situation where Brunson and RJ get back, and we're at full strength, and we could beat anybody in the league. And I think we've shown we can lose to anybody in the league. So yeah, man, that's exactly what a 500 team is, pretty much. They can win any night, they can lose in any night. What I would like to see is consistency, so that I know we're moving towards something we can build with. We want to be able to build on something sustainable this season. Now, some of my goals that what I want to see for the second part of this season, I want to see us close games out better. And I think that will come with some experience. Closing out games better is a reflection of growth. For the coach, for the players, and all of that stuff. Yeah, I want to be able to see that we can close out games better. With that said, the players should be learning each other's traits, habits, all of that stuff. I don't want to see these meltdowns no more. But yeah, that's one of my big goals, heading into this season. Yeah, what are you guys hoping to see first and foremost from this trade period coming up? Now, a lot of these games, people were thinking that we're going to pull them out in Texas. So we're 0-2 from Texas right now. It'd be amazing to pull this last one out and head back to MSG, like Kaiser Soze and the chat's been saying. They're going to be without Devin Booker. So that's in a situation where no Devin Booker, can't take any team lightly. But if we pick up a big win against Houston, we'll come back to MSG with a bit more confidence, I feel like. Dirty says it was our own fault drafting a 6'8" guy who weighed that much. Yep. That situation, yeah, with Sweetney, that was tough. Tariq says Obi and Nick, he good to go. Yep, I got a pulse on that. Haven't been wrong yet. Okay. Yep. We shout everyone out. Buzzer, CT, do you do this full time? I can't see running your channel and working a full-time job, fam. I do work. I don't do this full time. No, heck no. Definitely got a full-time day job, fam. 40 hours a week, 9 to 5, baby. But flexible with the hours. So you're never going to miss a Knicks game. Never going to miss chopping it up with the chat as well. I'm enjoying it. Enjoying it. Again, you just got to take it for what it is. This is a long process. Like EJ said, if you're a New York Knicks fan and you're still a fan, then you're in this for the long haul. Truth is, with all my sporting teams, I've never been one to ride the wave. I follow a bit of everything. Football, the Giants. I follow English soccer with Liverpool. There was many years growing up where they were bad, and I stuck with it. I never here in Australia. A lot of people jumped on the LeBron to Cleveland, the Miami thing. Truth is, you couldn't even get Knicks merch in any of the major sporting stores down here, unless it was a Melo, a Stoudemire jersey, a Marbury jersey, Porzingis. They brought out some Porzingis jerseys down here, Derrick Rose jerseys down here, but you couldn't get anything like, Tyson Chandler jerseys or Quentin Grimes jerseys down here. You had to order it online as well. So yeah, a lot of bandwagon fans down here. But I will say I've been seeing a heck of a lot more Knicks fans down here recently. Um, People are starting to jump on the wave now. Paul, salute. What's going on, man? You're not confident. You think it's going to be the 6-game losing streak? It's going to be tough. Yeah, it's going to be tough against Houston. I think Evan Fournier is back into the rotation now. At least I hope we're not going to gas these guys out. For everyone that wants to see Cam, I still don't see it happening. For the main reason that they're in probably advanced discussions in trade talks now. I think. Yep. Appreciate it, Dirty, as well. Yep. Yeah, no doubt about it. First thing for anyone doing anything that they enjoy, you've just got to stick with it. And if you enjoy doing something, that's the most important thing, because you give yourself the best chance, to grow and do better at it as well. Fortunate enough to have a great support base, great guests that come on. But I just enjoy talking basketball and enjoy talking sports, life, Knicks, all of that stuff as well. Try not to take it too serious, but sometimes you just have to. You got to take it serious. You got to decide to do that. CAA, salute. What's good? Enjoy the next 4 years of mediocrity. Oh, man. Yeah. How you been feeling, fam? I haven't seen you for a minute, but hope you're well. And yeah, this season has been going up and down like a roller coaster. But yeah, that's what we see from a 500 team. Trying to highlight some positives. The Quentin Grimes situation. Yeah, the Quickly situation. And I honestly think Obi was having a good season to start out. People seem to forget what Obi was doing. He was looking more mature. Obi was looking more calm on the court, like the game slowed down for him. The 3-ball regressed a bit, but his shooting ability is only going to get better. From a 24-year-old player, the stroke looks, the action looks really solid from Obi, and Obi is a guy that is going to improve as a shooter in this league. I still believe he's an NBA caliber starting player. He's Obi. He's got that talent, but we miss him right now, man. We miss Obi off the bench a lot. He gets us cheap, easy buckets. People like to joke about it, but in this league, you see, it's like tonight, the Spurs just ran. Like, you could tell their mantra was just to run up the court, man. Their guards were pushing the pace. And to their credit, a lot of our guys just weren't able to get set on defense. That Trey Jones, everyone else that they had tonight, Malachi Branham, they was pushing the pace a lot. And they're smart. That's what got them easy buckets before our defense could get set. Popovich knows what, would have known what Tom Thibodeau's defense, and the secret to us playing well is to get our perimeter guys back fast, and get our guys set. Tonight, San Antonio did a fantastic job of pushing the pace, playing with pace. They knew we were tired. They knew we were playing undermanned. And what did they do? They exploited it, like a good coach does. Greg Popovich does what he does. He's a smart man. I mean, you don't stay in the league as an NBA coach for that long unless you know how to win games. You could give Greg Popovich, 10 of the best guys from your local YMCA, and he's going to have yourself in a good opportunity to win a ball game. With that said, I love their motion, their ball and player movement tonight. It was one of the best I've seen from any opponent the Knicks have played this season. And I mean that sincerely, because the moment a player passed the ball, what did they do? They cut immediately. They cut. Doug McDermott running around the curl, just playing to their strengths, with this squad. The Spurs, the way they play, it's smart. Now, yeah, with the Knicks, I just feel like we're going through that funk, that we're going through a funk in the season where players are getting gassed, they're tired, we're undermanned. The 8-game win streak obviously was emotional. It was an emotional high for the team, and the last 4 were heartbreaking losses, and that's taken a lot out of the team as well. I think it's the perfect situation now, this fork in the road, for the Knicks front office to do a little shake up, bring in some extra help off the bench. We could throw some names out there. I don't think it's going to be no major move, but I do see Eric Gordon perhaps with the CAA connections to Derrick Rose, and there are credible reports that December 9, the Knicks were close to trying to get a deal done with Eric Gordon and Houston. Of course, he's not the only one. There's probably heaps more names. Malik Beasley, um, Kyle Kuzma's name's going to be out there. There's that link to Tobias Harris, which I hope is not going to come to fruition. With me, too much salary, not a difference maker for me. Um, I'd much rather us just try to get healthy and just see this year out. Honestly, Knicks fam, sometimes the best move is no move right now. We just need to continue to evaluate and play these guys big minutes and see what we have, make the best informed decisions throughout the rest of this season, head into the draft, and that way you have a better idea as to what kind of talent and pieces you need to make according to fit right now, according to fit. I do feel like we're evaluating still. We're seeing some flashes from Grimes, man. We're seeing flashes from Quick. Let's see. One thing's for sure, the list of suitors for Quick will just be growing right now. There were teams very interested, and even now, so I think there's going to be heaps of teams calling the Knicks for that situation. Yet we need the frozen envelope, fam. Buzzer. We need a lot of help with that. Let's see where we fall. If we fall in the play-in and miss the first play-in game, we're back into the lottery, and then the odds could hopefully be kind to the Knicks. Finally, all that missed luck that we've had years building up. Finally, maybe 1 year, like the Patrick Ewing frozen envelope. Hopefully, we just get it. Yep. The Knicks were trying to bury my guy Grimes even further back then on the bench. Yep. Yep, exactly, right. And like Dirty's been saying too, if when you've been a fan this long, you've seen the Knicks in way worse situations. I'm talking real purgatory right now. Most fans, or a lot of fans, are frustrated because they just can't quite see the avenue to win. They can't see light at the end of the tunnel. But we're not in purgatory at all. Like I said, things can change in 1 year in the NBA as well. One big chess move can change everything. Like I said, you get the right guy, the right piece in here, the right moves, and things can flip. Things can flip like a switch. Basically, you just got to keep the flexibility. Yeah, man. So yeah, what moves would you guys see? Like I said, I came into this season knowing what this team was, and we're evaluating, and you just need to see what we need heading into the draft. I think one of the best things about this team right now are players we drafted. Well, and we didn't even draft very high. So, and they weren't even, by great drafts by the standards of this year's draft. So, I'm looking ahead to this year's draft. Make no mistake, I still want to win games. I see some development. What's good, JM3 salute. Yeah, I still want to see us play these young players, see where we fall, and ride it out. There's but nothing else but to do. Knicks fan, Knicks Nation, is just to ride this thing out. Yeah, it's just going to be a slower build. CAA. Eventually, a coach is hired to be fired. Eventually, there's going to be a new regime come in. But right now, the Knicks have been in worse situations than where we're at right now. With drafting, with all of that stuff, with the picks we have at our disposal. Dirty also says we had the best free agency acquisition of the summer, and people are acting emotional with that situation. Yeah, for some people, they don't really see Brunson as that difference maker at the moment either. Like I said, I don't think any team situation's perfect, but the Knicks look like they're going to play that slower route, build each year, build sustainability, build credibility, trying to finish ninth, then try to finish seventh, trying to finish fifth, and get some all-stars up in here. Let's see. Let's see. Also, whether you want Julius on this team or not, Julius's value is better than what it was. He's come back a better player, making better decisions. He ain't a perfect player. He ain't a perfect player, but the situation with the Knicks and Julius is better than it was 12 months ago. With that said, Brunson ain't no championship point guard. Scores 20, gives up 25 on D. He isn't a real 3-point threat. Going to get exposed in the playoffs. Yeah. Let's see how it plays out. One thing's for sure, Brunson's the best point guard we've had in a long, long time. So until we get that situation in the draft, or another big free agent signing, Brunson's the guy we got. He's the guy that we got, and he's been playing well. He's been playing like an all-star. Donovan Mitchell's also a guy that gets exposed as well. So yeah, man, like I said, there's no clear way to build this thing. It's just tough there's 30 NBA teams right now trying to figure things out. And you got teams like the T-Wolves going all in, and they're in 11th. You got Washington, who's been building around Bradley Beal, a bona fide All-NBA talent, and they're not getting anywhere. They've been in mediocrity as well. You see the Golden State Warriors with Klay Thompson and Steph, and they're barely in the play-in situation right now. So yeah, things can change. Things can change real quick, fam. Any time of the season. With that, Drip More salute. What's good, fam? What's good? Yeah. No other way to describe these last two games as bad losses. But yeah, always pay credit to the opposition, the opponent, because they did a lot of right things. Obviously, the Dallas one, I think we threw it away. Tonight, we came out. We were just outmatched. Tonight they had a great game plan. They executed it really well. They moved the ball. They moved their man. Tonight they moved us around as well. We played a little bit of hero ball. We couldn't hit shots. But yeah, it's a situation we've got to learn from with that. But yeah, it's frustrating. 5-game losing streak after an 8-game winning streak. I mean, talking about seeing it all as a New York Knicks fan. There were some crazy ups and downs with the Stoudemire and the Melo, the stat years. There were some crazy ups and downs, but right now we're seeing a lot of this. So quickly looking at the road ahead, these games are getting tougher, fam. Houston, Phoenix still, even without Booker, it's going to be tough. San Antonio again, we owe them one. We definitely owe them some revenge at MSG. I would expect Brunson and RJ to be back for that one. At Toronto, is going to be hell tough. That's going to be tough. Milwaukee, Indiana's going to want revenge. Then Washington and Detroit. So I'm not taking any game for granted now, ladies and gents, right now. In the 82 games, no games promised, no dubs promised as well. I'm not checking out in any way, but what I'm saying is, in terms of wins and losses right now, I'm more evaluating how we win or how we lose. What's going on with the young fellas? Is Thibs playing the right amount of minutes for everybody? Are we being versatile defensively? Are we being versatile offensively? So far, we've been very rigid. so far. I want to see something better on offense and on defense right now. Like I said, I'm a fan of the way the Spurs played tonight as well. Ball movement, player movement with that situation. Bricks Nation in the house, salute. Knicks, when you trade Cam, please ship him out to West. Yep. I agree, man. That'd be nice. I don't want to see Cam in the East with that situation. One thing for sure, I think all of us would take bets that Cam's out of here. Knicks Nation. I think, yeah, Cam Reddish, he looked fairly, happy on the bench tonight. Not happy being on the bench, but talking to his teammates, trying to keep his spirits up. I think Cam knows what's happening and what's to come and what's coming up. Now, Leon Rose obviously wants to do the right business. Let's see what we can get. One might think the reason we haven't seen a Cam move yet is because they want to see the bids increase. You're selling a piece off. You want to create a bidding war, ladies and gents. You don't just want to sell Cam off right now to the lowest bidder. You want to see out there, man, who's desperate. Who's more desperate? Is it Miami? Is it Milwaukee? Is it the LA Lakers? Maybe the Clippers. A guy goes down with injury. Suddenly a need pops up. This team has another need. Maybe we're negotiating what pieces that we get back as well. So, yeah, I urge everyone just to stay patient with the Cam situation because, yeah, this might be a year that we wait a bit later to make a move. Leon's always been making moves early, D Rose, and also the move to get Cam. But I think this is the year where we might see the Knicks bring it all the way to the deadline. That's my feelings now. I think we might be seeing this all the way to the deadline unless a guy just blows us away with an offer, with a GM. Yeah. Yeah, I feel you dirty on that. Yeah, some fans, they want to see different things. I just used to it now. Understand some people want to get all the talent in the draft, and they just look at Brunson as a guy who's not that future guy that they want to build with. Like CAA says, losing could get us at better odds in the draft. And Brunson came here because he's dad. With that situation, Cam was laughing, smiling with that. Yep, he knows what's coming, and he knows. That it also depends on the generation of Knicks fans and what they've seen. Younger guys see this young talent come into the league and shake things up. To me, the 2 years we were high enough to get game-changing talent was RJ Barrett and was Kristaps Porzingis. Right now, so far, neither's really worked out. So far, the Porzingis one definitely didn't work out. With RJ, it's still wait and see. Still wait and see. And why I bring that up is when you're that high up in the draft, they're the years you need to capitalize. When you are that high up in the draft, is when you've got to capitalize. Porzingis did look the goods for a minute, but it blew up in our face and didn't work out. That was a bad situation. Traded him for cap space. Hope that KD and Kyrie was coming. We got Randle with the cap space eventually. So if you just look at the subsequent trail of moves, you went from the 4th overall pick, the worst year in franchise history, 17 wins. You got Kristaps Porzingis out of it. And you got out of Kristaps Porzingis, you ended up with nothing but cap space and Julius Randle. Now, here we are. We were bad again. We got RJ Barrett. Missed out on the odds to get Zion and Ja. Yeah. And here we are with RJ. Dirty says, I don't disagree that they are rebuilding the hardest way possible. But we have to have a huge group of assets and a bunch of guys who can slot in on a contender. It's not that bad right now. Yep. It's just it's a slow trail as well. It's a slow trail. Yeah, fans feel like we're not moving in a certain direction fast enough. Yeah, it definitely sucks to lose. I think that's what brings on a lot of fans' feelings. Then everyone wants a winner. Winning cures all. There's no doubt about it right now. If the Knicks signed Giannis Antetokounmpo tomorrow, and he was on this team with Brunson, Randle, and that, and we was winning 15 in a row, most fans will be fine with the rest of the players because of Giannis. With that, also as a fan, you got to pick on someone. You know, when your team loses, it's not easy to just say, "Oh, all right, we just lost." Tonight we just weren't good enough. What do we do now? You got to look at how you improve. You know, if you have a business and your business is losing money, you're going to try to highlight, okay, what part of this business do I have to improve on? What part of this do I need to fix right now? It's sort of like what fans are looking at as well. Eddie in the house, salute. The constant analyzing of Thibs' in-game coaching, his lineups, distribution is getting tiring. Until he's gone, we will never know what type of team we have and what players will be our future. Yeah, I've been out there to say I'm not a fan of Thibs' schemes, but I can't complain this season yet with the players that I want to see get minutes. Everyone's been getting minutes, and in terms of maybe their development, I do feel like there are better developmental coaches out there. Kenny Atkinson, I would have liked to see. Would have liked to see us, some of these more developmental coaches help our young players along, quicker. With that said, man, always say this: the NBA is the toughest league to win in. It's like 5 players on the court at any time, 30 teams. Everybody's trying to figure this thing out. There's going to be expansion teams come in soon. Seattle, Vegas is going to come in, maybe even Mexico City. There's buzz now in Mexico City is going to come in. The talent's going to get more evenly distributed, even more now, especially if they extend the draft. So that's going to be even more tougher now, ladies and gentlemen. Also, a lot of people talk about James Dolan. He's only operating the business to make profit. I could say that about a lot of other franchises as well. For some NBA franchises, all it is a business where the owner doesn't care. They're just trying to, they just own the team to say that they own a team, or because they're bringing in, billions of dollars. Yeah, I blame the NBA in a way. 32 plus teams. They need to do something with this mid-season tourney or extend the playoffs even more to make it more, incentivize some of these franchises to even be around, because every year they're just playing games for the heck of it. Yeah, with that situation, yeah, Knicks salute 26 champs. KP was a great trade. Quickly Randle, D Rose, and this year is first. With that situation, man, I really wanted the KP thing to work out. I did have the issues early on about his health. You look at players that are incredibly unique like that, players that we've never seen in our lifetime, that was 7'4", could move like him, could shoot. Was always worried. It was just a very innocuous injury as well. All he did was dunk it. Giannis knocked him off his spot, and the ACL happened as well. So I think it was a situation where I think even if it didn't happen in his 3rd year, there was always a chance it was going to happen with KP, with his legs. CAA would like to see Udoka up in there as well. I think he'll get snapped up eventually when the buzz quietens down. Also, yeah, with how deep the playoffs are, fam, like Dirty says, best of 7, the best team's going to win, barring injury, right? So it's very, very hard to win that chip. Yep. Look at these teams that are so close. Imagine if you're them. Imagine if the Knicks are in a situation where Phoenix is in, when you've finally done everything right, and you've got Devin Booker, you got a number 1 overall pick in DeAndre Ayton. You lucked out getting Mikal Bridges. You signed CP3 in free agency, and you still came up short as well. And there's still no guarantee this year that the Phoenix Suns are going to be able to do anything, you know. They came up short with the Charles Barkley KJ era as well. Made an NBA Finals, ran into MJ. Dan Marley couldn't get it done. So yeah, that's a good example of how different it is, how challenging it is, man, to win in this NBA. I mean, that's my biggest worry, that the Knicks build a winner like the Patrick Ewing team, get awfully close, but still not enough to get it done. Again, yeah, it's crazy up in here. Mexico, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't happen. I think they're looking at all avenues now, fam. I could definitely feel like Seattle and the Vegas are going to be in the building. Like E. Gibson, salute. Yeah, Seattle looks like it's a popular market, like you guys would know. Purgatory would be like, yeah, Minnesota, I feel like, yep, where you're an 11th seed, you've capped out all your flexibility, draft picks, etc. You've just bleeded everything as well. That's a situation where it definitely is purgatory, in my opinion. But, you know, for all the hardships the Knicks face, Minnesota face even more hardships, fam, which is why I try to understand why they did that move. You know, you're in a situation where no free agent wants to go, period. Right? Not only is it not a major market, but the weather is really bad as well, and you're in the West, so it's tough. I guess their most relevant years were when they drafted, you know, game-changing talent like Kevin Garnett, which takes us back to the draft again. You know, nothing's certain in this game, but putting yourself in a great position in the NBA draft is the first step. The first step for a franchise trying to build something that can't sign free agents. CIA says, you know what every championship team has in common? At least the 2 stars. Yep. To build around. Yep. You need at least 2 stars. Facts, right? Even Giannis and Kevin and Chris Middleton. Even Giannis, Chris Middleton wasn't enough. They needed to get Drew Holiday. I'll tell you what, though, I think the New Orleans Pelicans could be the next sleeping giant, because they're hitting all the right boxes. You know, stacking young talent, a lot of picks available, flexibility. Got the Lakers pick, and cheaper contracts as well. So yeah, it takes time. Takes up a lot of time, man. Yeah, Mexican cartels. They're getting all the calls. Yeah, with that situation. It's bittersweet because, you know, I love to see this game grow. Love to see it expand. More cities, more fan bases, all of that stuff, man. But it's always about these New York Knicks, man. It always starts and ends with the New York Knicks, the biggest market in the league, and we haven't won since 1972. Right now, man, when I wasn't even born yet. One thing's for sure, we got to be a fan of this game to still be chopping this thing up. I mean, that's really what gets us through this. Nick Streets, right? We enjoy watching good basketball because our team's been bad for so long. We're still rocking out. So we've got to be a fan of just watching the game. What are some of your players, Knicks, former Knicks, non-Knicks, that really drew you to this game? Watching these players that you could watch over and over and over again. With that situation, how have times have changed? We got Bol up in here and Victor Wembanyama. Just when we talked about KP being a unicorn, someone like we'd never seen. I mean, things about to go to a whole nother level right now, man. With Victor Wembanyama, 7'5", with a crossover, step backs, moving like KD, with 5 more inches on him, 6 more inches than KD. E with Seattle in the house, salute. You like Halliburton? Yep. He's getting a lot of buzz right now. Got to salute that young man. Came up into the league with some knocks on his game. But that's why the draft is still always a crapshoot. For as many stars that'll emerge and diamonds in the rough, there'll be as many busts as well. We could be on all night talking about all the almighty busts in the top 3 that were drafted as well, and all these studs that were found, in the late teens as well, and that'll never change, right? The Damian Lillards, the Jokic's, Ginobili's, Spider Mitchells, SGA's, so much talent that can be found later in the draft as well. So, got to invest in the scouting situation. Knicks, again, we're in a situation, fam, where we may not ever get back into the top 3 in draft picks for a long, long time. But if we can draft around the 12 to 15 range and hit a home run, it's possible. It's still very possible, fam. Look at SGA right now, man. There's not a Knick fan in the world that probably wouldn't want SGA on their team, and he was right there. He was right there in our grasp. We could have taken him right there. We missed out on Devin Booker. Always talking about the KP situation. We passed up on Devin Booker as well. So the Knicks kind of have themselves to blame in a way, because we could be in a completely different situation. Yep. Dame was 8th as well. Look at the MVP right now, maybe a third-time MVP, Nikola Jokic. Got to salute them from scouting. Scouting, they found the right way as well. And on that note, the new year is about to turn, and we salute everyone, wish everyone a happy new year soon. Again, we'll be on tomorrow night, 8 p.m. with Bill Daughtry live. But as we turn the new year, we'll be diving deeper into the draft class, doing some content with some draft guests, and this is going to be huge. Like I said, there's going to be game-changing talent all the way up to, without having looked at it deep enough, at least into the teens. But some steals definitely going to be had by some teams out there, man. I like the talent of Malachi Branham and Jeremy Sohan coming out last draft. Tonight we got to see them. We got to see some young talent as well. The Knicks, have invested in scouting departments, and we've got better at it. Quentin Grimes, Emmanuel Quickley, for all that you can complain about their shortcomings, where we selected them, they were value picks, and there's no two way around that. All we got to do is continue to select the right guys, and I hope we can get one. Hope that they can pop. Right now, Benedict Mathurin in 7th. We were close. We were close to getting that. Tyrese Halliburton as well. We passed up on him as well. So yeah, you got to be smart about it as well. It's in your own hands right now, man. Yep. Nikola Jokic, like every team in the league passed up on him, putting up 2K numbers as well. Eddie says, yeah, the team shooting itself in the foot, having all these number one picks, but picking at 15 through 21. Yeah, it's definitely going to take longer and more challenging to get that guy when you're constantly picking there. Um, but yeah, I feel like they're going to change things up again with the odds. I feel like it's not really helping get rid of tanking. You know, you've got Scoot, you've got Wembanyama, and look what's going to happen coming up to the trade deadline, man. We're going to see a lot of load management, a lot of bogus injuries come out, especially in the last 20 games, man. Can you imagine when these teams are that close to the finish line, jockeying for tank seedings? It's going to be worldly. It's going to be crazy. The NBA should be ready to hand out fines right now. Garland was definitely a situation. You know, DeAndre Hunter up and down with that situation. Yeah, the chat absolutely buzzing. Smash that like button. Win or lose, yeah, Knicks fans always represent. I mean, the best fan base in the world. There's no way that can be disputed about it. Um, I want this team to be a winner for every single Knick fan out there, as much as anything. Especially with what we've witnessed, what we're seeing right now. There's no proper way to build a team. There's no correct way right now. The Knicks are playing younger players. It's something we haven't seen in a long time. We got some flexibility. What it's going to come down to is Tom Thibodeau, is Leon Rose and co, the whole front office, the right guys to hit the right buttons, and make the right calls, get the right people up in here, the right players, all of that stuff. Yeah, it's going to be something that we're looking at all season long, and with this draft around the corner at the end of the finish line this season, I tell you what, if we're in that 8th, 9th, 11th, 10th, 11th spot, it's going to be must-watch TV. In terms of some of our young players, Dirty says it's justified optimism. 2 solid young wings, 2 potential all-stars, and all the picks in the world right now. It comes down to, are these guys going to pull off these moves and execute, or are some of these fringe talent guys going to make a huge step, a huge step up right now? Yep. Yeah, for the Garland situation, I don't think the Knicks really missed on that. I think, most people had RJ, the second, the third best talent as well. So that's not an egregious one to me. Yeah. But yeah, he did come in with some sneaky, upside. Buzzer, being a guy who was injured, he had intrigue. People were as intrigued by Garland as well. And, a salute. It's going to be some front office that can afford to take a gamble that's going to hit sometimes. Some franchises just can afford to take that swing. Now, a lot of balls need to be had when you're selecting third, because if you pass up on RJ Barrett as the third pick, and he becomes the next big thing, that's going to get you fired as well. But at Cleveland, I think they were picking 7th. They can afford to take that kind of chance in that situation as well. And had the roles been reversed, had the New York Knicks been selecting at 7th, we may as well pick Garland with that spot. You never know. Never know what would have happened. Yeah, Almighty brings up that name. I remember this too. Well, a lot of people were high on Jarrett Culver. Too fam. Yep. Facts. Like I said, for every success story, there's a bust. Well, for For everyone that wants to say, everyone wants to say I was right. Everyone should have picked that guy. Well, there's execs and former legends in this game that were wrong as well. So it's a lot of a crapshoot. I think Garland was fifth or seventh. DeAndre Hunter went fourth. Yep. DeAndre Hunter went straight after RJ. Yep. Like Almighty says. Yeah. So yeah, he was either fifth or seventh. I think was Garland, but it was still a risk because he was injured, didn't play much college. Didn't play much college with that situation. But one thing I do foresee, though, maybe not in the next 5 years, but in the next 10, 15, 20 years, with the likes of Wembanyama, Joel Embiid coming from overseas, Jokic, this game is really growing internationally right now. You've got the next Michael Jordan in Africa as a kid right now growing up, I bet you. You got this kid probably in France on the playgrounds right now. That's going to be the next big thing. The next big thing could be in Japan right now. Like a 5-year-old dribbling the heck out of it in Japan right now. So the talent of this game is going to grow to the next level, I think. And they probably should expand the league in some way because I think there's going to be more talent. More talent. The game's growing internationally. With that said, we're seeing it. Look at the top 5 selections every year as well. This year is going to be insane. Also, Canada. I got to shout out the talent coming out of Canada with that situation. So yeah, the Knicks better get busy. We better get our scouts all over the world right now. I think from what Mark Berman last told us, the New York Knicks are one of the only franchises with a full-time scout in Europe right now. So that's good news. I mean, James Dolan, not afraid to spend money. Are they the right guys? I mean, are they smart? Are they good scouts? That's up for debate. That's up for debate right now. Yeah, Australia as well. Yep. There is NBA scouts come down to Australia every year to look at they call it the Blitz down here. It's like a weekend similar to the All-Star weekend down in Australia for all the NBL teams. There's usually a handful of NBA scouts come down as well to look at that. And usually the New York Knicks don't come though. So yeah, to Australia, but they do have Kevin Wilson, the scout in Europe right now. So the Knicks got a guy looking at firsthand, looking at with Victor Wembanyama right now. So they would know what they're going to miss out on right now. Yep. Yeah, France. Yep. Josh Giddey, fam, CAA. Yeah, as well. Yeah, I did bring up Josh Giddey a bit. Even I'm going to admit, I didn't know he was going to be this good. We've seen Dante Exum flame out. Fam, Dante Exum was hyped up. But Dante Exum was more hyped up on athleticism. His fundamentals weren't as good as Josh Giddey. Whereas Josh Giddey was the exact opposite. People didn't rate his, athleticism and thought he could hang in the league. But the passing and the fundamentals was there. Fam, so yeah, it's a bit of a hype train. That's another thing too, fam. What do you guys value more, fundamentals or athleticism? Because some people, we've seen hype trains flame out. Athletic talent. Remember the Anthony Randolphs of the world. Remember that? Those that might remember the Anthony Randolphs, Antonio McDyess's, the athletic hype trains. And then we got dudes like Ginobili, Jason Kidd, Jokic. They're all fundamentals as well. Nothing flashy about it. People compare Dante Exum to the next Kobe because he looked the part, he had athleticism, but the fundamentals weren't anywhere close. He couldn't shoot like him, no way. he was just a slasher. Yeah, with that said, any dude that comes in with fundamentals and athleticism, then look out. Look out. But yeah, that's what I was looking for as well, Dirty as well. They don't teach size. 6'8" that can pass like Magic Johnson, and that's no hyperbole as well. I really think Josh Giddey will go down as one of the best passing NBA ballers in history as well. He's clocking up triple doubles at a crazy rate right now. 6'8", can pass, can see the floor. CAA says point guard fundamentals, wings, athletic, and defense with a shot. Yep. Yeah, I like that as well. Look for size to dominate the league as well. I think. I mean, look how much the game's grown. We saw Muggsy Bogues, 5'3", and we saw Nate Robinson, 5'9". We've seen Isaiah Thomas, 5'10", and what's a common theme? We're not seeing those guys in the league anymore, right? Size is becoming too much of a factor now. As much as I love him and I root for him, Isaiah Thomas just can't get back in the league. Maybe because he was so special, maybe a Muggsy Bogues. If a Muggsy Bogues was to come around again and reincarnated, because he was so special, maybe he gets into the league. Probably not anymore. A team can't defend with a 5'3" player on the court anymore right now. So that's what's changing. Size. Where we're going to start to see more point guards, 6'6", 6'4" point guards, Lonzo Ball, LaMelo Ball, Josh Giddey. Also, I won't talk about it now, but there is a handful of Australian prospects about to come through as well. One of them is a passing god like Josh Giddey as well. So there is another Josh Giddey that not everybody knows about as well. He's a Division 1 college player right now, but not from a big school. And we'll talk about him in the draft coverage coming up. There's another Aussie point guard about to come through playing for Duke right now. He's got elite shot creation as well. He's slated to go around the 20. Right now, he's projected a late first round, I think, as well. So, yeah, there's heaps of untapped potential, young talent about to come through. This draft is really, really deep right now. Really deep right now. So scouts, like I said, get busy right now. These scouts have to get busy right now. A lot of talent in the second round as well. Yep. Yeah, like Dirty says, Tyrese Proctor for Duke. Definitely got flaws in his game. Yeah, it's interesting with these Australian prospects. A lot of them are hit or miss. Josh Green is starting to look like he has a home in the league. He's taken a little longer for Dallas, but he's a 3-and-D kind of guy. Yeah, 3-and-D kind of guy. So yeah, if you got Giddey 6'8", Shea 6'6", if I'm OKC, I'm building around them. Man. Heck yeah, absolutely. Especially while they're on a rookie contract, just keep them all right up until the last minute of their rookie contract until you have to pay them. And if they look like a star, you pay them. You figure the rest out later as well. Yeah. Yeah, Josh Green had upside. 16th pick he went for. The offense is the last part of his game that's going to come around. But he's got a good size, solid on the defensive side. I could see Tom Thibodeau trying to get Josh Green, perhaps. Won't be surprised if we trade with Dallas. They're looking for a Derrick Rose right now. They're looking for a Derrick Rose. Maybe we ask for Josh Green in return. I do know he's best friends with Jalen Brunson. Having to speak to Josh Green myself, him and Brunson got along really well. But yeah, it's all in the eyes of the scouting. Like I said, Shea went for, late in the draft. Look at him now. Look at Trey Mann. The Knicks missed out on a few guys. For everything we heard, Trey Mann and Tyrese Maxey was the Knicks' preference, but we just didn't get up high enough to get those boys. Tyrese Maxey on this team next to Brunson would be nice, or Maxey instead of Brunson. Trey Mann's come out a bit slower out of the gate, but Trey Mann looks nice as well. We missed out on Desmond Bane. And of course, we missed out on Halliburton as well. We could relive that over and over and over again. Yep. OKC pipped us, man, to get Trey Mann. Not too mad with it because, we end up with Grimes. We end up with Brunson. We end up with Grimes now. But at the time, we were trying to get Trey Mann, and we were definitely trying to get Trey Murphy as well. Like Finesse says. Yeah, there was a lot of smoke out that draft. The Knicks leaked. It was leaked how much the Knicks were interested, and it was tough. It's always tough trying to leapfrog these teams and get good talent, especially when they know. Dyson Daniels, another one, man. Yep, he was up way too high, but yeah, he looks like a nice piece for the Pels. Yeah, Bricks is on point too. The Mavs I think, will be in the sweepstakes for Cam as well. Like I said earlier, I think we should be, keeping Cam and so the bidding warring, ups in the ante with that because teams like Miami, which we shouldn't trade, we shouldn't try to help these teams in our conference, but Miami, Milwaukee, I don't care for helping Milwaukee if we can get something of value, maybe Cam and Rose. But I think on the West Coast, I think a team like Minnesota will be desperate. Who else is desperate? Dallas, definitely. LA. Let's see who's needing more help. As we get closer to this thing. Honestly, I'm not upset they're not playing Cam because we don't know how close they are to trading him. We could be in advanced discussions, or we might have A, B, and C deal on the table. Maybe the framework of some of these moves are already lined up, with some of these teams, and we just need the fillers to sort itself out, and then we pull the trigger on that. We tried to trade up for Chris Duarte as well, man. As well, yeah. That's why the Knicks do legit get laughed at. We always seem to try to trade up and just miss out on our guy. A lot of these guys I haven't lost too much sleep over, but the worst one seems to be Tyrese Maxey right now, because we were really close. We were really close with him in terms of that. Eddie says Knicks are always just out of the right spot, though, picking that player we want in the draft. Yeah. We have definitely, Eddie, a lot of the times, but I did reference a few times we had the guy and we passed up on them. SGA, we had him. We passed up on him. Mikal Bridges, even Michael Porter Jr., which is a bit of a dicey proposition, but he was the better talent than Kevin Knox. Then it's Spider with Frank Ntilikina, Devin Booker. So there are enough situations where the Knicks were in a position to take the right player, but missed out, as well. The Ivy situation, we did try to offer everything, but I think Brunson was really their guy with that situation. I think they could have wowed Detroit, but they chose not to, I think, with that situation. And yeah, it's hard. It's going to be hard to tell. Like Dirty says, we have Brunson. We're not going to know for probably 4 more years in terms of how good Ivy looks. In this league. Um, Again, a lot of after summer league, a lot of people were riding Kevin Knox jockstrap. No one was talking about the Knicks passed on SGA. But after a season, the noise got louder. After the second season, it's like, oh, we stuffed up here. Definitely with that. Yeah, with this regime, they're doing some better things, but nothing's perfect right now. They're still getting evaluated. Would still prefer basketball minds up in here. With that said, we've got more flexibility, more ammo. Let's see how we build this thing. Quentin Grimes is a keeper for me. I'll keep a longer look with IQ. Again, some of these players you just need to see it through and just hope that they can develop more and more each year as well, rather than send them to another team. If you want to trade Rose, Cam, Fournier, if you have to move on from Obi, I understand, kind of thing. And then save a few slots for this draft. Save a few more slots. Well, I won't be mad if we try and draft another point guard, because what's the worst thing that can happen? They play backup to Brunson for a few years, and if they're better than him, then you make a move in the future. Yep. Yeah, it's going to be scary. Also with Holmgren, Giddy, Shea, and also Jalen Williams. Yep, and Poku as well. Yeah, but yeah, like he says, I'm evaluating how we close games out. To finish this season, man, that's going to be huge. That's going to be key. Are we learning? Are we in the right direction? That's what Leon's evaluating, I think, Thibs on right now. And I don't think they're going to make a coaching change until after the season. I think with this CAA connection, I think we're on track for the play-in. I think Tom Thibodeau can, they did set the bar quite low, and they can say we made the play-in, we improved, and we keep him around till the end of the season with that. Yep. E. Gibson also says, yep, you think we hang tough till the end of the season. I think then we make some moves right now. Because yeah, you can evaluate a lot in the play-in situation too. How do these players play in the pressure game? What if we make an actual playoff series? You get more. Leon Rose gets more opportunity to evaluate these players and evaluate the coach, right? And then he can say, "I gave it a chance. Off season, switch it up. Off season, make some moves, switch it up. We looked at this. We looked at tape. We looked at improvement. All of that stuff. Let's see what we can do." But like I said, right now, we shouldn't be trying to put a Band-Aid on this thing. We just got to ride the growing pains. Sometimes the best move is no move. Make some minor moves, addition by subtraction, and see which these guys pop. See how we finish the season out, and give these guys minutes. Give these guys minutes. Let's get it. Ladies and gents, the chat's still buzzing after a bad loss. Smash that like button. We'll get after it tomorrow. Respect, peace, everyone out here as well. New Year's around the corner. Let's get it. Health, prosperity to everyone, and join us. Yeah, if you're free, and catch it on replay. 8 o'clock tomorrow. Bill Daughtry will be on live, and we'll get his thoughts about what's going on with the team, his thoughts with these bad losses, the road ahead, all of that stuff. And have a great night, everyone. Peace.